Hi, everyone. Welcome back. Welcome to another session about mistakes. In our last session, we talked about the importance of focusing on mistakes rather than fixating on mistakes. We talked about the difference between the two. And today we are going to dive deeper into the topic. But before we start, I'd like to recap quickly what we talked about last time. So we said that mistakes are inseparable part of the learning process, that they are normal, that they're a sign that we are making progress. So they're not bad. And the truth is, the truth is that we always make mistakes and that we will always make mistakes because we are work in progress. We are lifelong learners. As long as we are alive, we will learn. So we will make mistakes. Well, that said, because of that, we need to overcome our fear of making mistakes. We explained why they happen. We're not going to repeat that today. So we need to overcome fear of making mistakes. And the way to do that is to be aware of them, to understand why they happen, sorry, to understand why they happen and to learn how to work around them. The first two we discussed in our previous session. Today we are going to learn how to work around mistakes. So we said that it was very important to be aware of mistakes. And one way of doing that is to pay attention to language structures. Constantly pay attention. The so-called the Sherlock method, that's how I call it, and that's the method that we use in my programs. So you pay attention to everything. Then while you're practicing something, you can record yourself and then analyze the recordings. And don't worry if you don't notice all the mistakes, you probably won't, and it's okay. So just if you manage to hear one or two mistakes in each recording that you make about something while practicing, while speaking in English, that's fine. Then you make a list of your weak points, okay? So that you can focus on those. And then you prioritize. This is very important. So one of the mistakes that many language learners make is that they practice a lot. They spend hours doing exercises, practicing. So they're actually very busy working on their English, but they're not very productive. And that practice is not effective because they're not prioritizing, they're not working on the most important problems first. So first thing we do in my programs is analyze your weaknesses and your strengths, and then see the mistakes you make, and then see which are the mistakes that we must start working on right away. We choose the mistakes that will build foundation. Once we've resolved them, they will build foundation to solve other mistakes. So by solving one mistake, sometimes we can solve two or three. And on the other hand, there are some mistakes that are area in, separate area, let's say. So whether you fix them right away or not will not affect your communication too much. What do I mean by this? For example, let's take two grammar parts, grammar areas as an example, articles and prepositions. If you make mistakes with articles, forget to use them, use the wrong ones, that is a mistake, but that will not prevent the other person, the other person will understand you. It will be a mistake. You will be aware of it. They will be aware of it, but they will understand you. But if you make a mistake with a preposition, for example, you use the wrong preposition, there may be misunderstanding. So that may be a bigger mistake. So that's maybe something you should be focusing on first. Articles can come later. So you see, prioritizing the things you are working on is very important. It's essential. So we also talked about understanding why our mistakes happen. And these were the reasons: habit, lack of knowledge, insecurity, and wrong approach. Habit, because we are used to using something or saying something, because we've been doing that for years. We learned it that way. Maybe that was the wrong way, it was incorrect, but we kept repeating that, so we created a habit. So what we are not doing in my programs is we are not correcting or eliminating habits, okay? We are creating new habits. That's how we work around them. So it's much more efficient, faster, and stress-free. So, instead of correcting something, we are creating something new. Lack of knowledge. So maybe you're making a mistake because you don't know that particular structure. You've never used it, you've never learned it. And then insecurity. You're insecure for many reasons. I'm not going to repeat that. We discussed that last time. So insecurities. And the most important piece is the wrong approach. I strongly believe that we are capable of amazing things with the right approach. I strongly believe that. And so if you've been studying English as a subject and not mastering it as a skill, that was the problem, because it should be approached as a skill, mastering a skill. So, because those mistakes are holding us back. So we need to work, we said that we needed to learn how to work around them without frustration. So first thing we should do is welcome mistakes, seriously. Welcome mistakes, just accept them as a normal part of the learning process and laugh at them. Seriously, laugh at them. Take the importance away from them. If you laugh at your mistakes, you will relax. The other person, listening to you will relax, and it will seem less important, even if when you make a mistake. For example, you can say something like, "Oops!" When you make a mistake, you can say, "Oops! Well, that didn't come out right," or "Well, what was that?" Or "I didn't mean to say that." Things like that. And if you think you will not recognize your mistakes, you will not be able to notice them, then before you speak or while you're speaking with someone, you say, "Oh, sorry, I need coffee. I'm very tired today, so I'm going to make a lot of mistakes." And what is also something we should keep in mind is that as someone who is speaking English as a second language, you are already showing amazing skills. You are functioning in another language. That's very important, okay? That's your advantage over people who speak only one language, okay? But we'll talk about that in another class. And finally, you need to find what works for you. So one-size-fits-all approach is something I do not use. It may work for someone, but I personally believe it doesn't. So I believe that we should find our own approach and what works for us, what we feel comfortable with, and it is possible. how do you find what works for you? In my programs, we do it together, but if you wish to do it on your own, these are the questions that you must answer first. First, you must ask yourself, how do you like to learn? So do you like to write down things? Do you like to read and underline? Do you like to write short summaries? Do you like to watch videos or presentations, or repeat things? There are many learning strategies that can be used, but you must know what is it that you like doing. Okay, then you should think about the activities you enjoy the most now, but also when you were a child. Activities like, maybe you enjoyed riding a bike, or I don't know, playing football or playing video games, or I don't know, you had some hobbies. And then what was it that you enjoyed the most in school? The subjects you enjoyed, the activities you enjoyed. There are a lot of things that we explore in my programs that will give us a clear picture of your preferences and of the way in which your brain likes to work. So then ask yourself, are you super organized, or do you like to improvise? Are you an introvert or an extrovert? What other skills do you have, and how did you master them? Think about it. So did you use any special strategies, or was it because you just like those activities, so they seemed easy, or because you use some other skills to learn or to master those? So many questions. So think about that to find what works for you. And then you should go deeper. You should analyze your weaknesses and your strengths. Your weaknesses, in order to be able to use them to your advantage, you'll see how you must know what your weaknesses are. So one way of doing that, so there are many ways of analyzing and finding out your weaknesses, is you should think of situations you tend to avoid. Like, for example, at work, is it the meetings that you tend to avoid, or speaking on the phone, or giving presentations, or I don't know, negotiations, anything really, writing emails? What is it that you tend to avoid? Trust me, you're avoiding that because you think, or two different things, think or that you can do it. So then find a way that's comfortable for you and face them. Okay, for example, you don't like speaking on the phone because it's difficult for you to understand the other person without seeing them, to understand the other person speaking. Well, great. Many people have that problem. Many people. So it's not you. You are not the problem. The problem is that maybe the accent that person has may be difficult to understand, or they speak very fast, or simply you have the habit of looking at people and reading their gestures as well, and facial expressions, not only words. So try to see, are there any strengths? That's the last one here. Analyze the weaknesses, find the strengths you can link to them. So okay, think of the first of the strengths you can link to them. So okay, I'm a good listener. So being a good listener, I will probably hear a lot if I focus. How can I focus? Well, while the other person is talking to me on the phone, I'm going to write down what I hear. And then I'm going, knowing the topic and seeing what that person said, I'm going to learn to maybe phrases or questions to ask the person to check if I understood correctly, or to, when I don't understand something, I'm going to prepare two phrases or questions to ask them to repeat that, or to clarify not showing that I don't understand, not saying I didn't understand, or oh, I didn't catch that. Sorry, could you repeat that? Or sorry, could you clarify that a little bit? So let me check. Did you say this? You know, there are many phrases that you can use. So be prepared. Prepare the basics. You cannot prepare the entire conversation because, you know, you never know which way it's going to go. So, but you can prepare several survival phrases, you know, or questions that you can use to buy yourself some time. So those strengths that you have, preparation and other strengths that you may have, try to use them in situations you try to avoid. And just learn enough. You don't have to learn 10 phrases or questions. Learn one or two. That's perfectly fine. That's more than enough. So the same way you analyze your weaknesses, you're going to find out what your strengths are. But this is more difficult. Believe it or not, this is more difficult. And in order to be able to use them, you must know what your strengths are. But this is more difficult. Why? Because weaknesses hurt. We are frustrated by our weaknesses. We feel bad when we make a mistake, or when we face our weaknesses. We feel bad, so we remember them, and they're always there. But good things that we do, that we're good at, we just, you know, oh, okay, that's normal. Yeah, but those are your strengths. They're normal because they're easy to you for many reasons. I don't want to bother you now here about that. That's another topic for a different class. But you can, for example, while you're identifying your strengths, you are going to try and find out what you're good at, okay? And use that whenever you can. So how? First, you can identify the activities. If you're not sure what your strengths are, think about the activities that energize you, that you feel great when you do certain things. So when you feel fulfilled, happy, full of energy. So what are those activities that happen, or maybe that you do? Or try to identify patterns in your everyday life. That's also important because patterns are habits. So if something became your habit, it's because you repeat it. So your brain, you know, is using that or doing that on autopilot. So automatically, and that's what we want. So those are things that are easy for you, that you mastered and probably are good at. So try to think about those. And finally, try to think of the past accomplishments that you're particularly proud of. So make a list of them and then choose three. Okay. And then when you've chosen three, try to see whether there is something, some skill or something that is, that connects them all, that they share. For example, it may be, I don't know, that you took a course while working. So, you know, that was a difficult period for you, but you managed. So you were determined and hardworking. So that's a very important skill. Okay, that's your strength, dedication, and hard work. Then maybe, for example, in my case, I am proud first of my family, so how I raised my daughters, and then of my career, because I've helped a lot of people, and I have great feedback from them. But not only that, I also build relationships with them. All my clients, I keep in touch with all my clients, you know, 20 years, but I keep in touch with all of them from time to time, of course. So because I believe in relationships, in connection, okay, and in our own capabilities. So, when you put all that together, dedication and trust in relationships and work, that's what those have in common. So you see, you try to find something that works, that you're good at. Once you've done that, continue perfecting the identified skills, okay? Because you should not only work on your weaknesses, you should work on your strengths to become even better at something, because you can always be better than the best. Okay, so if you are great at something, but there is always room for improvement. So, and then you can develop related skills, something that is related with that one that you mastered and you have. So that's a very, very, it's a long process, but rewarding one. So once you become aware, and then here I gave you the link, you can go to this site, high5test.com, to do a test where you will see what your strengths are. So maybe fun to do. And when you've done all that, then you need to start implementing everything. So when you've identified your strengths, push them forward, okay? Use every opportunity to use your skills, your strengths. So if it's in a meeting, for example, your English is not very good, but you have great ideas. Everyone says that you have great ideas. Well, then just focus on how you can jump in and share your ideas. Okay, so prepare the topic and then the ways of sharing, right? So implement every day, and weaknesses, of course, develop your own strategy to tackle problems, to tackle your weaknesses. So well, I help you develop your strategy and, create new habits and patterns. You can also teach someone. That's a proven technique. When you need to teach someone, to explain something to someone, you must really understand it and be good at it in order to be able to explain it well. So there, when you try to explain something, you will see if you have any problems that maybe you missed, any gaps maybe, and what you should focus on. And finally, create a habit. That's what we are doing here, creating new habits. So to sum up, we must, in order to be able to do anything in life, now we are talking about improving English, we must welcome mistakes. And we do that by welcoming them, by being aware of them. Okay, we welcome them by being aware of them, accepting them as normal. Then we analyze them to see why they happen in order to understand them so that we can correct them. And finally, we learn strategies that we can use to work around them by finding what works for us. So remember, to sum up, mistakes are inevitable, so we cannot avoid them, but yes, we can minimize them, okay? Their importance and the frequency. We will always make mistakes, so just accept that, which is good, which means that we are learning, we are work in progress, if we are learning, we are getting better. We must accept mistakes as the part of the process. So it's inseparable part of the learning process. And finally, remember, we are a work in progress, which is wonderful. So thank you. And I hope you found this useful. We are going to talk about some other things related with mistakes in our next session. Thank you very much. See you. Bye-bye.